I'm Zoe Delahunty-Light, and I've played hours upon hours of Diablo 4 on PS5 as a barbarian, and I have some things to say. A quick heads up, I wasn't allowed to capture my own footage. Instead, Blizzard supplied B-roll, so you are going to see a bit of repeated footage every now and again because it's all I have. Apologies in advance. Also, there is so much to say about the live service, the season pass, and the endgame aspects of Diablo 4, so I'm also making two separate videos about those aspects which will be coming out soon, but I'll still touch briefly on them in this video. Anyway, let's get on with it, shall we? Here are 8 things you need to know about Diablo 4 coming from someone who's played it. The first thing you need to know is how annoying the lag in Diablo 4 can be, and I'm just gonna go off on it now. I say all this with the caveat that I did play on a private playtest, not with the launch servers or support Diablo 4 will have, so this will hopefully see improvement when it's ready to come out. Anyway, that having been said, my God, the lag was bad. Queuing to join the game was fine and went by in a flash. However, I went from experiencing no issues to the game being almost unplayable in the later stages of my time with Diablo 4, when I was about level 17. It kicked in when I was in the harder areas of the map and the story dungeons. Seamless travel has been touted by Diablo 4's PR campaign, but I would not call it seamless. I'd get rubber banded a few steps backwards when entering a new region. When I pulled enemies, they'd go from sprinting towards me to freezing for a second or two, and then suddenly appearing in front of me when the game caught up with what was actually happening. My attacks occasionally took a couple of seconds to hit as well, and I'm saying all of this with someone who has very expensive, very fast fiber broadband, so my internet cannot have been the issue. In case you can't tell by how salty I sound, Diablo 4's always online aspect had a horribly invasive and laggy impact on my experience with the game. Diablo 4's always online model means you do see other players in your world. The way it was described is that Sanctuary is a shared world and serves as a kind of lobby. Campaign areas will be in a private mode, and then once you've completed the campaign content in that area, it'll then become a public space, and you'll be able to see other people. A quick note, dungeons are always private spaces. Aside from those areas, you will be able to see other people adventuring and questing and doing things as you're going through the world. Although you can group up with other players if you want to, all the content in the game can be completed without partying up with anyone, although world bosses will be wrapped up with encountering other players, presumably because they're pretty hard. I didn't see anyone else during my time with Diablo 4, but I was playing a small test build which less than 150 people had access to in different time zones. So I wouldn't say I got the full always online experience. I will say that I do not like the idea of seeing other players in Sanctuary. It's a constant immersion breaker for me. I was playing a closed test build, so I didn't get the full experience of the game, but so far the lag and this always online aspect is massively affecting how I feel about Diablo 4. Like I said, I'm making a video about this that goes into so much more detail, so keep an eye on Eurogamer if you want to know more about Diablo 4's live service and online elements. The launch of Diablo 4 is just the beginning of content for the game. The team that's building Diablo 4 is going to be moving from building Diablo 4 to working on the live service, where expansions are going to be frequently released with new stories, new quests, and new classes. My upcoming video will go into the season pass because there is just too much to go into right here. Character customization in Diablo 4 is extensive. You can slap makeup and body markings and piercings and jewelry on your character as much as you want, as well as transmog the gear you're wearing and weapons you're wielding. Salvaging items at the blacksmith unlocks their look for you to apply to your own stuff in your wardrobe, but salvaging armor and weapons doesn't get you any gold in exchange, so you'll have to balance the aesthetic lure of transmogging with whether you actually want to sell them. Going even further than your appearance, armor also has pigments you can choose, which are basically shaders, and snapshots save your chosen look in your wardrobe. Customizing your character goes further than looks though, and into your titles as well, as around Sanctuary are Altars of Lilith, which give challenges for you to complete. Her categories for these challenges are extensive, as they cover classes, crafting, miscellaneous challenges, open world, exploration, hardcore, multiplayer, and monsters. Rewards are given in the form of player titles like Dominance, Crushing, Traveller, Mercy, Better, etc, etc. I sense some of these titles are going to be a flex when Diablo comes out. If you've played a ton of Diablo 3, like me, you'll definitely recognise the action-packed combat in Diablo 4 and constant opportunities to shed some blood. Local events are almost impossible to avoid, but not in an irritating way. As off the beaten path, I sometimes found a caravan reeling from an onslaught, which I then had to protect from another ambush, with my reward based on how many caravans survived. These are optional and you can simply walk away if you want to, so there's no pressure to engage with them. I also fed some obelisks some blood, as you do, and disturbed a blood ritual. Once you do one type of world event, like the caravan one, it doesn't really change the next time you encounter it, but it does get harder. Local events like these get you obols, which you can spend at curiosity vendors. These vendors have basically a lucky draw available, so you buy a broad type of weapon, like a mace for example, without seeing what rarity or power it is, and then you gamble on what rarity and power it ends up being when it arrives in your inventory. I did this 3 times and I got 2 common weapons and 1 magical one, so it's really hit and miss as to whether you get what you want or not. Exploration is a much bigger deal in Diablo 4 than ever before. You track your region progress, and for me that was the Fractured Peaks, and the more you discover, the more renown you earn. Earn enough renown and you're rewarded with 10,000 gold and an XP point. Renown is earned by discovering Altars of Lilith, waypoints, areas, strongholds, and doing side quests and side dungeons. While you're doing all that exploring, repeatedly using the same type of weapon, probably, like a mace you've got attached to, it increases the rank of that weapon and garners bonuses called weapon expertise. To these weapons you can add aspects. Aspects are basically buffs, but you need to discover and unlock them before you can apply them to a weapon or a piece of armor via the occultist. The region the aspect challenge can be found in is freely given, like Kyrgyzstan or Hawazar, but you'll need to find the specific dungeon that the aspect challenges in by yourself. All of these mechanics I just explained add weight to how valuable exploration is in Diablo 4. It pairs really well with Diablo 4's non-linear story campaign. You'll have to trek through Sanctuary, as in the main story, main characters do split up and each of them ask you for help, so there's kind of branching paths. Before the story can continue, these threads will have to be tied up, so you'll be reaping the rewards of exploration even if you don't pay that much attention to it. I'm making a separate video about Diablo 4's endgame because there's a lot to cover. Safe to say, it's a big priority. Paragon unlocks after level 50 with deep systems for players to progress through, but there is finite power growth. The devs explained that they wanted there to be finite stop points so you can play custom difficulty challenges instead of exponentially powering up. When the story campaign ends, Diablo 4 is only just beginning. You've got nightmare dungeons, Helltide, Whispers of the Dead, Fields of Hatred, and so much more to complete. Now, once again, all of these, especially Whispers of the Dead as they're pretty cool, is going to be covered in an upcoming video. Diablo 1 and 2 players will recognise the darker tone and themes of Diablo 4, with its return to darkness apparent from the very outset. It's grim and mature in a world that feels so much more grounded than Diablo 3. I ran into something especially unpleasant at the beginning of my time with the game, but I won't spoil it here. It feels like Diablo 4 wanted to shock me though, which it did succeed at when I, no spoilers, ran into some guy hanging from chains with his intestines hanging out, yet he was still craving more pain. The Cenobites would be proud. I adore how Diablo 4 looks as well, and you can really tell that every single asset in the game is brand new, with a new engine that uses physically based rendering with high-res models shown off in cutscenes and the moving vendor portraits that pop up when you go into a shop. Diablo 4 has taken its environmental storytelling to the next level, as everywhere I looked I saw hints about who had been there before me and often how they had perished. Small interactable objects are scattered throughout buildings which give you insight into the world, such as a kettle brewing something foul or bottles filled with the odour of strong spirits. Notice boards around settlements build upon the world around you, like describing an errant knight who's gone missing, or propaganda for the Way of the Light. I side with Lilith, by the way, as the Cathedral of Light is messed up. During my travels, I found outcroppings of ore and herbs like biteberry, which are needed to make elixirs, and, to my delight, deer or goats usually convene around herbs, which I found a nifty little world-building touch. In dungeons and caves, rats and snakes scuttle around your feet, while ravens fly at your approach in the wilderness and dogs wander around the towns. I love the added wildlife in Diablo 4. So that's 8 things you need to know about Diablo 4 coming from someone who's played it herself. What are your thoughts on Diablo 4 so far, judging by what you've seen and heard? The always online thing is a real issue for me, especially after the lag I experienced. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, thanks very much, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Eurogamer, as we have a new video out almost every single day. Now, I'm going to go and maybe start replaying Diablo 3 because I really miss my Necromancer, so I'll see you lot next time.